You have you have started this bilateral annual meetings with all the governments in Central Asia, and that has come under a lot of criticism by the civil society, saying that, well, America is coming and for its specific narrow interests dealing with all these authoritarian regimes and really not paying enough attention to human rights and democracy. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I don't think that it's come under as much criticism as you might say. We've made a sincere effort to include members of civil society in many of our annual bilateral consultations that we've already had. We had planned to have a civil society forum as part of the Kyrgyzstan annual bilateral consultations that were scheduled before the overthrow of the government then. So we are very much committed to trying to advance democracy and human rights in all of these countries. And again, we think we have a particular opportunity here in Kyrgyzstan, which we are moving very aggressively to try to, again, work with the government to ensure that it succeeds.
Well, going back to southern Kyrgyzstan again, a lot of people here in Washington have been very careful at defining what really happened there. And a lot of people say, well, it's not, you know, we shouldn't really think too much about how to define it, but we should deal with the crisis. In your conversations, I guess, how does Obama's administration regard this? How do you define it? What happened in your view in southern Kyrgyzstan?
Well, I don't think anybody really knows the answer to that question, and that's why we need not only a national commission, but also an international one, because there is an international aspect to this, since there are many refugees who are still in Uzbekistan. And I think also the international community can provide a lot of added value and expertise that perhaps the Kyrgyz themselves don't have. So that's why we believe that the international component of this is also very, very important. And it will give, I think, some comfort to the Uzbek community, which, as you know, is feeling very aggrieved right now and very worried. And itself has been, I think, the object of many of the arrests that have taken place so far, which itself, I think, is causing some questions about the government's true commitment to reconciliation.
And
so
the U.S. Embassy in Bishkek just warned and called for fair treatment of all citizens.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be very important as this commission proceeds that also the arrests be done in a fair and equitable manner, so that all of the culprits who may have been responsible for the violence are brought to justice. And I think it'll also be very important to help the Uzbek community to rebuild their houses, to rebuild the infrastructure, and all that was destroyed during those terrible days of violence that took place, so that, again, they can feel that they have a future of hope, of equality, and opportunity in Kyrgyzstan.
We hear that there is a candidate to replace Richard Norland, Ambassador Norland in Tashkent. Can you confirm that? And who is it going to be? And also, your Ambassador Norland is credited for renewing U.S.-Uzbek relations, and we know that the political circles in Tashkent like him.
Well, they do like him, and he's been a wonderful ambassador. The president has announced a new candidate. Like all new ambassadors, that person is subject to confirmation by the Senate and the advice and consent of the Senate. So we hope that he will have an early hearing by the Senate, and that he will be able to serve with the same distinction that Ambassador Norland has been able to serve.
And this person is?
Well, we've already announced it, right?
George Kroll.
George Kroll,
right?
that's right. George Kroll, as you know, has been our Deputy Assistant Secretary for Central Asia throughout the last 2 years, and has served very, very capably and with great distinction. And so I think he would make a wonderful ambassador there, subject to the advice and consent of the Senate.
Well, just quickly, you just talked to the American business circles at the Uzbek embassy. What was your main message?
Well, the Uzbek embassy, in conjunction with the Uzbek American Chamber of Commerce here, was organizing a seminar and a forum to, I think, better explain some of the opportunities at the Navbahor economic zone there. And so I just went to send a message, first of all, that the United States is committed to trying to expand trade and investment with Uzbekistan, and that we believe there are quite significant opportunities. Blue chip companies like Honeywell and General Motors are looking at expanding their role in Uzbekistan. The Uzbek economy has done very, very well throughout the economic downturn, growing by at least 8% over the last several years, which would be the envy of almost every country in the world. And I think as you look at how the private sector is developing there, increasingly foreign investment is really taking the place of aid. And that's a good sign. That shows that there, in fact, are a lot of opportunities, not just in the oil and gas sector, but I think in many other sectors as well. Petrochemicals, food processing, various kinds of electrical products. So, the purpose of this seminar was really to, again, explain to the business community here some of those opportunities. And I also took the opportunity to say that when we organize our next annual bilateral consultations in Tashkent this winter, we don't yet have a date for that, that if there is sufficient private sector interest here in the United States, I would be glad to take a trade delegation with me to Tashkent to, again, have a separate business forum there to further explore some of the opportunities. So I think that was a message that was welcomed by our business community, and we'll try to work on that as we move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
It's nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much. Nice talking to you
Thank
too,
you.
always.